Okay, and we're at our last study goal. Radon is a hazardous radioactive gas, and this is kind of ironic. In Santa Barbara, you'll often see me wear a black sweatshirt and that says Radon, which is a local boat building family. Um, Maybe you've heard of radons if you're into surfing or into the ocean or commercial fishing or something. Um, Spelled the same way, but the hazardous air pollutant is called radon. And the College Board asks about this all the time. Like when I got my first training, I had to do all these practice tests and they gave us all these training materials. And during my first training, I had heard of acid rain and I'd heard of global warming, but I'd never heard of this radon thing. And then I realized in my reading in the course that like, oh, it's some radioactive, okay, blah blah, but I just couldn't figure out why the College Board was so focused on this really rare element. Like, we got to be really clear about something. This is an exceptionally rare element. So I was like, hey, teacher, how come I've never heard of this? And the teacher's like, wow, bro, you're an idiot. And I was like, didn't know. It turns out that radon is responsible for mortality rates in our country roughly equal to cigarettes or car accidents. Like, you can attribute as many cancers as you can to smoking. And obviously, everybody on the planet knows that smoking gives you cancer, but most of us have never even heard of radon. Isn't that crazy? So I did some research, and like, it's part of a decay chain of uranium, which is found in certain types of bedrock. Uh, by the way, this is one of the classic synergies. It's an example that I'd like you to note, that if you're a smoker and you're exposed to radon, your chances of death are about 20 times worse than if you're a smoker alone or exposed to radon alone combined. So like the combined effect is worse than you would expect from just combining the single effects. 1 in 1,000 dies, 1 in 1,000 dies. So you would expect 2 in 1,000 by combining them. But when you combine smoking and radon exposure, you actually get like 40 out of 1,000. It's much, much deadlier than the sum of the parts. So anyway, it kind of occurred to me, like, I wonder where this radon is, right? Like, if it's killing so many Americans, like, I've never heard of it. So I like Googled radon map USA. And I was like, whoa, that's a lot of radon out there. And I was like, huh, I wonder what happens if I Google radon map California. I hope you know where you live. That's us. The two red spots are the Ventura and Santa Barbara counties. So I was like, oh. Radon map Santa Barbara, California. Pow! Like, where I live and where I work and where all of my students live, that's pretty tight. My current home is right there. When I got this training, I was living up here, so I was pretty excited, like, whatever, I'm safe, I just come down for work. But after I got trained, I actually moved to live down here in the red. And now I live over here in the red. And I gotta say that my hunch is a lot of you probably live in the red, mathematically speaking. Radon's extremely common around here. Apparently, it's really, really high in Montecito, Carpinteria, Summerlin. Kind of high on the Mesa, kind of high in the foothills. So Uranium is uranium, and you probably know that uranium undergoes radioactive decay. It takes a long, long time for uranium to decay. And uranium is just a rock. It's really common in our soil. When uranium starts to fall apart, the atom splits, it becomes a different element. It gives off some protons. When uranium starts to decay, it actually shifts into a gas form. So it starts to emit gas, just single atoms at a time. And in that decay chain, one of those steps is radon. It's a radioactive gas in the decay chain of uranium. Radioactive gas, decay chain, uranium. You got to know that. And so when it comes out of the ground, if we breathe it, it's radioactive. It continues to decay inside of us, and that breaks the bonds in your DNA, and that can drive cancer. And so people can be exposed repeatedly if their house is built on uranium bedrock, and it turns out that most of our houses are. So when I bought this house, I had a radon test done. Turns out that I'm mellow, but a house like across the street, down like perpendicular to mine, 4 houses up on the intersection here in front of my house, they actually had to vacate the house, and they had to do some like really massive reconstruction because they found really high radon levels when they tried to sell the house. And most of our houses are built to prevent radon intrusion, but your book has this diagram that I'd like you to write down. This diagram, so you have to test and isolate groundwater. That's number one. You have to use like seals underneath the foundation. Most of our foundations are poured on top of sheets of plastic so that the radon can't come in through cracks in the foundation. You have to like seal electrical boxes, and like there's something about windows and circulation and stuff. We can all live around this stuff if we keep it out of our houses, but it's a major threat in indoor air pollution, radon. Your book has this diagram. I'd like you to write down the stuff in the key. All right. It's been a long day.